tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won.
This morning, parents in Colton demanding action after a middle school student is knocked unconscious in a classroom. Want to warn you, the video is disturbing.
A hydro class is crazy work, man. Oh no, baby. Bro, tell the guy, tell the damn.
It is one of the most dangerous, treacherous stretches of landscape to get to this country, the Darien Gap. Many people die along the trail there. There were 408 crossings through there last month. Now, there are ways to go around it, but can you even imagine? If we know that number of how many came through, how many didn't make it? That's a massive drop from August 2023. You ready for this? 82,000.
Tonight on a police shooting that turned deadly in Pacoima. An officer shot a transgender woman in a motel room after she pulled out a knife. She later died of her injuries. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher here with a closer look at the video and why the LA LGBT Center is demanding action. Michelle.
A deadly officer-involved shooting captured in newly released LAPD body camera footage. The images shedding light on last month's encounter that claimed the life of 30-year-old Linda Moran.
For you, California's insurance commissioner and the Department of Insurance, they're a totally separate branch from the state legislature. Here at the Capitol, state lawmakers are expected to check his power and provide oversight. But today's hearing was brief, and the insurance commissioner wasn't even here.
President Trump is expected to invoke the so-called Alien Enemies Act. ABC News is reporting that this is part of his efforts to carry out mass deportations. The Alien Enemies Act is a wartime law. It allows the president to detain or deport natives and citizens of an enemy nation.
So many months or days to count the ballots in California, a month. India, 1 day to count 640 million votes. Germany, 8 hours to count 50 million votes. Yep. Argentina, 6 hours to count 27 million votes. California, 4 weeks to count 16 million votes.
It's ridiculous.
Why?
It's ridiculous. It's because it's, and by the way, we've been having this conversation enough. And it's first of all, we believe that every vote counts. So we want to make sure every vote is counted because of the provisional ballots, the fact we do all mail-in ballots.
California investigations. Governor Gavin Newsom and California Democrats are putting Medi-Cal, the healthcare program for low-income families in our state, on the brink of financial insolvency, all because they've handed out free taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal immigrants. Coming up, we've got the bombshell revelation, and even Gavin Newsom admits Medi-Cal is broke.
Of an airplane inferno in Denver. This began with an American Airlines jet making an emergency landing and then an engine suddenly erupting in flames. Terrified passengers fleeing out the emergency exit, seeking safety on the wing, desperately trying to escape the flames and smoke.
U.S. Department of Education staffers are without a job this morning.
This comes as President Trump has said he intends to eliminate the entire department.
Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher has a look at how these job cuts could affect students all across the country.
This is the most brazen and boldest attack right now on public education.
Strong reaction after a nearly 50% reduction in force at the Department of Education. Roughly 1,300 impacted employees were notified via email and will be placed on administrative leave come next Friday with full pay and benefits for 90 days.
Try the right music. Funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5. Evil Hippie Network, Rumble, X, even on YouTube probably today. On this Faster Than You Friday as we're rolling in the home stretch to the weekend. Donald Trump got his continuing resolution. Chucky Schumer caved. Well, what he did yesterday. They got 10 Democrats, actually. I'm sure Rand Paul, we'll check out, see if any other Republicans. Rand Paul voted against it. All the other 52 Republicans did. So probably had 62 votes to, and I wish they would have not, and instead of continuing resolution and all that and shutting down the government, we're just spending what we have coming in. That's the way it should be framed. We're living within our means. I think we would have got further. Elon Musk and little X headed out with Trump on the old chopper, headed to Air Force One to Palm Beach and Mar-a-Lago, where he usually spends the weekends. We might hear from him. He made a pretty big, probably back to, this was Trump 1.0 of that. He made a speech at the Department of Justice office, which was our open on that. We'll play a little bit more because it has to do, or he mentioned us local folks, or at least us local folks that go to the school board and other meetings of our public agencies and the stuff the DOJ has been doing to us that is going to stop under Donald J. Trump, or has stopped already, and would continue. At least we got a 4-year reprieve. State Farm is asking, and Ricardo Lara, our insurance commissioner here in CA, has granted him a temper on the proviso that he can justify the expense, and I'm sure they will, because everything's ridiculously expensive in California compared to just about anywhere in the world. As the great Ashley Zavala reported that, the insurance commissioner didn't show up at the hearings and they just whitewashed it up there at the Scoundrels of Sacramento. So I guess it's still business as usual. Of course, we'll go through the spaz attack that Gavin Newsom had on camera on his own waning, as we say, podcast that he's trying to keep himself relevant. I will say he had Steve Bannon on the other day and Michael Savage almost back to back on that. He's not worried. He's done being governor of California. Whether he's setting himself up to run for president in 28 or whatever ulterior motive he has going, because that's why he's inviting on. He's moving. The one on. He's going to be an election denier, as the goons and the left keep calling us. Oh yeah, it takes too long for 4 weeks to count votes in California. Duh. I mean, Jiminy Christmas. Like Chucky Schumer on this, hey, we're going to put it on the credit card deal. Even though with all the tough talk on Wednesday and all the Democrats are united and all their same X posts and everything else they were putting out on the social media every day, same thing in bombarding, we're sticking together. Chucky Schumer had to relent because him and BS Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas were going to look completely stupid. I mean, they were screaming, you got to raise the debt, you got to fund the government, you got to deficit spend. We don't have more credit card debt limit. Where's some more? We get B of A on the phone or something. How much can we borrow over there? Screaming that. Most of them since their whole political careers, at least once they've been in Congress or the Senate. One day, next day, we're passing. 10 Democrats sign on to it. We've discussed it all weekend with Susan Shelley and stuff of that Dr. Kelly Victory I'd have said, hey, that's it. We're just going to spend, if we'd had $1 trillion more worth of cuts by September in the budget cycle, and that would have been, heck, we could, had they have not passed the put it on the credit card bill, we might have been able to balance the budget by the end of 26. But we'll see. I mean, he's got Howard Lutnick and Bessent and Musk and all that crew over there, Rusvogt. They're all smart. I mean, they're much more skilled, professional, smarter at this than I am. So I've got to trust. Well, I got no choice. We're going to see how it works out. I mean, I get their strategy. I think it's going to take too long. I think we could have been in recovery by 26, which would have been much better for the midterms. We might, if they start cutting, my fear is if they start cutting in the next budget cycle, starting in September, October of this year, if it's going to trigger an economic slowdown or a slight recession or even maybe a hard recession, you're right in the middle of the election cycle. My view is you needed to get it done now. And then work on getting everything rocking and rolling, and then, hey, 26, boom. We had the one, we'll get to that in a minute, from August of 2023 to August, 80,000 coming across the Darien Gap, which is there coming up through Mexico and all that. Very dangerous. Those people that came, the 30 or 40 million, like they said, we don't know how many died. 80,000 2 years ago, 40,000 last year, down to 480. That was an astonishing report. Remember, Joe Biden, we slowed it down and all that when we were going through 2024. Well, yeah, it's easy to slow from 80,000 coming in illegally down to 40,000, just in the Darien Gap. Not, they're trucking in 4 or 5 million a year, easy. I'm going to say minimum 20 million came into this country illegally during the Harris-Biden assault on us. Lots of interesting news and views and other things will catch up. Carl DeMaio and Bill Asele and Machado were on Fox News, and they will more the Doge cuts, bringing them to California, stopping that, and of course the Gavin Newsom spaz attack. I mean, I guess I did some wonder one of the impersonators. Gavin Newsom's kind of known in California, a little bit nationwide, but I guess he's not at that stage where you would have impersonators, I guess, because this guy's got to be the all-time with his funky whatever, with the flashing the gang signs and the whatever. I mean, I don't know, the weird. That is freaking weird. His hand gestures, and they've been getting more pronounced. He used to just like one or two. Now when he starts, it's like he can't stop. And when he's doing this stuff, you're really not paying, and maybe he's doing it. When he's doing this stuff, it's hard to pay attention. Anybody, when they're spazzing out on that with their hand gestures, it's hard for them to pay attention to you because they think, well, what the hell is this dude coming down with an attack or something? And quite possibly, maybe he is. Maybe he's got some sort of chronic condition. I don't want to issue ill health on anyone. That's not nice. But here he is with Steve Bannon let's see if we can do here we go.
I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more.
That is weird. Let's roll that again. See if we can hit it right the second time.
Well, and I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mindset.
What do you mean?
It's a wonder. If I'd have been Steve, I said, "What? You got a condition or something, bud?" I mean, he started off with the old, and it didn't look like he had a watch on, but like adjusting your watch deal. And he's done these like individually, for his political career. That's just kind of his stick of what he does on those things. Man, that, like I said, to put him in these combinations and the weird way he's doing it, I don't know what focus group they've been around, or who's advising him to do this, or who's not coaching him not to do it. Let's roll it again.
Well, and I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mindset.
What do you mean for Trump?
If you're watching him doing them, I don't know how good. I'm sure I'm not as skilled at the Newsom spaz attack hand gestures that he has. But hell, you can't hardly understand what the man is saying. Of that, I don't know why the black thing is coming up in there. Oh, that's part of him, I think. But no, it's hard to get him with I don't get this. And the one thing, at least to me, the annoying thing is the air quotes thing, I think, is dumb. I mean, I don't know that I think it's annoying. I think it's just dumb. But hey, a lot of people use it of that. I think it's, again, even though you're doing, I get the quotations if you're writing something, or, you're real good at the language, or the writing part. But to do that in the air quotes, just for me personally, that doesn't play well in the literary communication. Roll it out there. You're very articulate type. But let's hear Steve Bannon's answer now that we've got through the spaz attack. Here we go.
I think there's sort of the grievance narrative that comes from Trump. This notion there is sort of a victim.
Well,
grievance
they did try to put him in prison for 300 years, right? They did try to bankrupt him.
Well, that's
if a guy had ever had a set of grievances, they did steal, according to us, and we're firm believers of the 2020 election, which I think worked out better, that providentially that he was able to come back with that gap, because I think you're seeing a much more not just new and improved, but somebody that's much more in command of these decisions and really stepping up in a way that we could have never done before.
That was besides the spaz attack stuff. I've been saying that. A lot of people have been communicating that all across the board. And like I said, maybe every day I'm more convinced we had to go through the Harris-Biden torture for 4 years. Whether it's we didn't appreciate Trump the first time, and Trump with the team he had in there the first time, too many establishment, government, monkey trying to throw wrenches in everything, trying to keep the establishment in power. It's a wonder Trump accomplished what he did in the first term. But a lot of people pointed this out. Have you noticed the feminine way Newsom with the cross legs and even though just that last one, the way he's sitting and posturing? Keep a note on that as he's doing these podcast things, because usually, most times, Gavin Newsom is standing. Very rarely that I remember seeing Gavin Newsom like in a sit-down interview or especially for long periods of time, till he started this podcast in the format with the open chairs or, no table or nothing type of deal. I don't know. Roll it out what you think, but that's it. But Bannon picked up on the point I have a lot of people have did. Man, Trump's coming rolling in light years ahead of where he was before.
But no, I don't think it's grievances. I think it's reality. I mean, no one in American history has the system ever come after. And I think it's one of the problems with the Democrats. You got in a position of having to defend. Remember, I come from a working class Democratic family.
Right? Kennedy Democratic family.
Kennedy Democrat. I was telling some people last night, I said, we didn't know any Republicans. We were Irish, Catholic, working class, phone company, firemen, Navy enlisted people. You didn't know any Republicans. They just weren't in your, we were in the South also, which is all, machine Democratic politics. So you didn't know anybody. You didn't know anybody then. And so to see what President Trump had to go through and to see how we've actively changed the Republican Party to actually the working class party in this country. And there was a poll done last spring that showed that we as the Republican Party are the working class party and viewed as such, and that President Trump's the leader of that working class party, and the Democrats have become both not just the Wall Street elitists, but also kind of the credential class with the poor underneath it, of which we're now trying to obviously recruit not just the working poor, but actually the poor itself to join our broadening coalition.
This is another reason why Gavi is doing this 180 on practically every political position he has ever taken in the last 20 years in his public sphere life. And every day, the MAGA coalition keeps growing. And it is. The MAGA coalition is the working class, middle class folks, for the most part, in the country. They're either joining or voting for the Republicans, mainly because Trump is running on the Republican ticket. If Trump was running on the Sharpie ticket or whatever, they would be joining or voting for the Sharpie ticket, or Sharpie political party. Like Bannon said, in his area around Richmond, Virginia, working class town. And probably, judging by Bannon's age, he probably grew up there in the 50s. That was the Richmond, the suburbs, as we call them now, the working class areas. They were mostly all Moreno Valley was mostly Democratic in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Started to turn Republican. 80s with the Reagan deal went real Republican, and then obviously made that big 180 turn back to not just Democratic, but completely stupid. But what Bannon's talking about has been picked up a lot of places. Again, Bannon looks out of place too with that funky open collar with the goofy tie on. When he's parading around with the messed up hair and the airman's jacket, like of that, and then to come on Gavin Newsom's deal trying to look like I don't know what. But Bannon never, I don't remember wearing anything close to this. But we digress. But Bannon's right on the strategy and the movement. The direction of the country is going at this time. He's 100% spot on his analysis. But like I say, I wonder, maybe he did. The podcast was actually about an hour and a half. I haven't watched the whole thing, so maybe he did that. Bannon's a good one to try and poke at you, so that's why I would figure somewhere in there he would have made a jab at good old Gavi. On top of that, let's see what else is up on the old hit parade. Oh, maybe we'll save that for KMET. We'll hit that one when we get there. Oh, how about that LA police shooting video of the transgender woman from Ecuador? Let's get more from the ABC 7 report from the great Mark Brown. Here we go. Maybe. I thought Mark was going to start.
Details tonight on a police shooting that turned deadly in Pacoima. An officer shot a transgender woman in a motel room after she pulled out a knife. She later died of her injuries. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher here with a closer look at the video and why the LA LGBT Center is demanding action. Michelle.
Mark, less than 10 minutes after officers arrived on scene, this officer-involved shooting occurred, things escalating quickly. And tonight, the center says they want the officer responsible to be held accountable. A deadly officer-involved shooting captured in newly released LAPD body camera footage. The images shedding light on last month's encounter that claimed the life of 30-year-old Linda Moran, a trans woman who called officers around 10:30 in the morning on February 7th, indicating she was being held against her will. Moran describing her situation in Spanish.
Linda, ¿te están forzando a hacer esto?
Body camera video captures LAPD Foothill Division officers responding to a motel on San Fernando Road in Pacoima and interacting with Moran, who they have sit on the bed as they inspect her head, where she tells officers she's been hit.
Can I touch your head?
This body camera from a supervisor who arrives later on the scene showing Moran becoming agitated. "Do not touch me," she tells officers in Spanish as they speak across the room about what's happening. Moments later, things escalate. Moran yelling from the kitchen area with a knife, "Get out of here." Then, quote, "Kill me then," as the supervisor reminds the DCO, designated cover officer, that he has less than lethal rounds. This angle showing the officer.
I haven't heard that one before. DCO, designated cover officer. That's a new one.
Involved shooting as officers speak with Moran standing outside her room. "Throw the knife away," they tell her before she moves toward them and is shot.
Yes.
This zoomed-in image showing Moran holding a knife with a 6.5-inch blade that was recovered at the scene. After the shooting, LA fire.
Again, what do people not understand about if you're going to be a ding-dong and you're going to point guns or long knives or any kind of knife at a police officer, you are probably going to get shot and most likely killed. So you can see it looks like she's pulling it out of, or she has it in one hand and she's pulling something out, or with the other. In the still picture we got there, you can clearly see the knife coming out of that. Well, maybe not so clearly. It's a little hazy because it's a body cam. But you can see right there, if you look at it, right there you see she's got a fairly long... Now that knife can kill you. Right in the right spot, you're done. There would be no saving you. So, again, if you're going to use weapons at cops, that most likely is not going to turn out very well for you at all. Get back to the border thing, because that's... Remember how we were told, oh, Biden and Harris, we saw the error of our ways in 2024, and we're going to slow the immigration down. We're going to halt it. Oh, 2,000 a day coming across the border illegally. Oh, well, they would admit, why you complain about that? It was 5,000 the other day, and that's probably, you can probably times it by 2 or 3 from what they were putting out. More from the Harrison Faulkner Fox News report. On the almost, there's nobody coming up from South America through the Darien Gap, through Mexico, into the United States. Hardly. Infinitesimal percentages.
Huge evidence against the Biden-Harris administration that they weren't just derelict in their duties. They were deadly dangerous. I want to go now to Brooke Taylor.
So, before we get to the reporter's take on it, and Harrison Faulkner's right. I don't know how cold the heart of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and that whole crew could be. How many, like they said, we don't know how many people are dead coming through there. That's extremely dangerous terrain to traverse mile after mile. Not only the physical toll, you're walking for, I don't know, could be 600, 700, 800 miles on foot. That's why it took them a month in most cases to walk from, because most of them came from South America. If you came in through the bottom to the South American-Mexico border and went all the way up through, it's a long walk. And most of them were on that train, especially the first 3 years.
Who's live in Dallas, Texas, with more on this, Brooke?
Hi, Harris. Well, DHS and ICE leaders say that right now, just in the first 50 days as President Trump was under office, they say that these top officials say that they're dealing with a massive problem because of this. Detention facilities are at full capacity, maxed out with 47,600 detainees because, as you just mentioned there, they're outpacing those arrest numbers that we saw under the Biden administration.
Outpacing the arrests under the Biden administration has got to be the understatement of the year. Was there 3 arrests, maybe 1 a year in the Biden administration? Look, when Joe was vice president and Obama, in 8 years, they deported 3 million people. But like they said, now they're running out of space. Hey, we can rent you 1,200 beds here in the Indio jail. Since Sheriff Chad can't seem to get those open. He said he's going to work on that on the June budget. We'll see. But in what, 53 days or whatever it's been, 54? Not even 2 months? And I'm going to say like 98.7% of the 47,600 detainees, that isn't even counting the ones that are already been deported, and we're out of facilities to house them, we're going to need to come up with something. Because just if working at this pace on the most dangerous criminals and stuff, what happens? Because there's going to be more criminals per se as you step down the ladder, from the rapists, murderers, human traffickers, to the ones, running the illegal stores and all that other stuff. And you step it down. There's going to be more of them because obviously there's not as much penalty to that crime as there is murder or rape or sexual abuse of kids. Here's more from the Fox News report. Here we go.
So senior officials say that they're working with the Defense Department for more bed space, but they would also need more funding from Congress, as we see going on right now. The senior DHS and ICE officials also giving us new arrest numbers, as you mentioned. Check this out. During President Trump's first 50 days in office, ICE arrested roughly 32,800 illegal aliens. Of those arrests, senior leaders say around 14,000 were convicted criminals. Nearly 10,000 have pending criminal charges, and the remaining were in the United States illegally.
Let's take a look at this.
Those numbers are stunning. From basically 80,000 just through the Darien Gap, 80,000 to basically roughly 40,000, cut it in half, 6 months. A year later, statistically, basically zero. I mean, you're at half of 1% versus August of 2023, a year and a half ago. That's mind-blowing. I have to agree with Harrison Faulkner on that. There is no possible way. I would have figured they would have got these many arrests of very dangerous criminals, because obviously it takes more time. Now that they're not coming across, now we can use the Border Patrol agents or ICE. Instead of being paperwork process pushers, now they can actually go after these guys. Like I say, they just need space. I mean, if they can lease space from military personnel or spaces or what, for detainer, whatever, like I say, call up Sheriff Chad. He's got 1,200 brand new beds. Oh, you'll have to figure out how to staff it, but it would be kind of an easy transition. And then once maybe the illegal thing rolls out or subsides, and you could just hire them to run the Indio jail and make Riverside County safer. What a conceptio. But that was a very enlightening report from that. Let's roll on. I want to get to Ashley Zavala, the great KCRA reporter out of Sacramento. This is why especially these subcommittees or hearings or stuff, most of the time are either grandstanding or useless. This is what happened. We got a humongous insurance crisis, and the politicians, oh yeah, I guess we do have one. We got to get to our 3-martini lunch. Let's open and close the meeting. Bye, we're gone. Here, hopefully, we go.
Insurance Commissioner and the Department of Insurance, they're a totally separate branch from the state legislature. Here at the Capitol, state lawmakers are expected to check his power and provide oversight. But today's hearing was brief, and the insurance commissioner wasn't even here. The Democratic chairwoman of this committee, State Senator Susan Rubio, rushed through this hearing. Commissioner Ricardo Lara had two of his top department officials testify on his behalf. Nothing new came out of this hearing. The Department of Insurance reiterated the work the commissioner has been doing since before and after the LA wildfires to try to stabilize California's insurance market.
Well, obviously that was a rousing success, but people got their insurance canceled because of just the stupid, ridiculous rules, regulations, cost, just everything that's gone wrong in California. And under Ricardo Lara's leadership, what's he in his second? I don't know. Maybe he got reelected. Whatever. He's a dork. Doesn't even show up because he doesn't want to face questions. You got a couple of people from the assembly or whatever this committee is. Oh, yeah, I guess, we'll ask a couple questions here. Again, well, maybe it's only 10:30. Maybe that's a little too early to go be drinking Mai Tais or taking whiskey shots or something. Maybe we'll head over to Starbucks or something and grab a cup of coffee.
This hearing involved 4 panels that included not just the department, but also consumer advocates and the insurance industry. As Democratic State Senator Aisha Wahab tried to go deeper into issues with the industry, such as insurers dropping policies or issues having to do with protecting renters, the chairwoman tried to rush responses and in one case didn't even have the insurance industry respond to one of Wahab's questions. We asked for an interview with Senator Rubio after the hearing, but a spokesman said she did not have time. At the end of the hearing,
no kidding. Yeah. We got lunches to do, brown paper bag sacks to pick up, those old grocery ones. Put a lot of stuff in.
Hey, Roy, I'm here. How you doing, man?
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's good to hear. I know that could be hard.
Yeah, no, it's...
we're 1 minute out.
You got it. No, it's... The good news is I don't have a lack of things to talk about when I come in here.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, this is what we're doing. The insurance. They got this committee up here in Sacramento since you just came in. The insurance commissioner doesn't come off. They said, "Oh well, yeah, we're working on this insurance stuff. Look, people getting canceled and stuff, and destroying and burning our whole community." So like, yeah, they have a 2-minute hearing and then basically walk out.
30 seconds. That sounds about right.
Yes, this is we got to get out of here. Cutting the one person that wanted to ask some questions, they cut off the insurance experts to giving answers, probably because they knew what was coming and they were going to be torched.
All right, here we go. 10 seconds.
PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Expressed are not necessarily those of its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the Evil Hippie Network, Rumble. Check us out, subscribe, type in IE Newswire on Rumble. We're also on X too. I keep forgetting those guys. And with all the good stuff Elon's doing for us on that, got it plugged. Maybe we should really push the X thing. I give Rumble's pretty good too. I really don't like FB or YouTube, but it's still got a few people that you just can't pry them away from that. I don't know. I get it. People get you get into the habit of doing, and then
she acknowledged it was rushed.
Yeah, no, we don't want to hear from you. You did. Yeah, you're rushed. You want to get the hell out of there so you can get to the 3 martini lunch or whatever with the brown paper sack. Oh, wonder what all this green stuff. What's all this green stuff inside the paper sack? Man, we're getting California. If at the trajectory of stuff that's coming down, and at the frenzied pace Trump is moving, and they did get the credit card limit rolled up. Chuck E. Schumer got 10 of his Democrats because they were going to look stupid because Trump was wanting to do what they've been screaming about for decades. Not that I wouldn't have done a different strategy, but hey, that's where we're at, so we got to roll with the punches. But why even bother? You make yourself look worse. Have a hearing. You come in there 2 minutes. You got one legislator that actually wants to ask some questions, and the insurance commissioner doesn't show up. And you shut the insurance experts that maybe know how to fix this, if you would listen to them. Figure out, like Laura, the insurance commissioner, the legislature, Newsom, he was talking about this, that, and the other. Well, election fraud. Savage got him on that. Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. The only reason you're counting for 30 days makes it easier to cheat. I digress. But why even bother? If you're going to be so arrogant as to just run a sham hearing committee on the insurance, then just don't waste everybody's time. Don't even bother calling it. We had that stunning report, for those of you joining us on KMET, through the Darien Gap coming up through South America to Mexico, dangerous territory. There's the numbers. Year and a half ago, August 2023, over 80,000. Almost 40,000 6 months or so later in February 2024. Donald Trump, 53 days on the job, 408. That's absolutely 1,000% stunning. Like with ICE agents, Border Patrol, sometimes if you just let people do their job, the job they paid to do, the job they trained to do, the job they made their career at, have the experience. It's amazing when you turn them loose what they can accomplish. Like this. Egg prices, wholesale prices down $2 in a week. Gas, the lowest prices has been since Harris Biden came in. Inflation, lowest it's been in 15 years or some ridiculous number. How could we have, I know we probably had to go through it. I don't know how we survived the Harris Biden assault. I guess it wouldn't be as bad as the Depression or something like that. But it definitely was a very challenging encounter the last 4 years. The one thing that with the vast turnaround, just like the coming up through the Darien Gap and prices coming down. Like Trump said, I will bring prices down. He didn't say first day in office. What he said, if you listen closely, he said, my first day in office, I will start bringing prices down. He didn't say, when I come into office, eggs are going to go from $10 to 99 cents. The next day, you're going to walk in the grocery store and all of that. No, he said he's going to start, and you're 53 days in, you're seeing the evidence of this. Outlandish. More from the Gavin Newsom interviews.
Why does it take so many months or days to count the ballots in California? A month. India, 1 day to count 640 million votes. Germany, 8 hours to count 50 million votes. Argentina, 6 hours to count 27 million votes. California, 4 weeks to count 60 million votes.
It's ridiculous.
Why?
It's ridiculous. It's because it's, and by the way, we've been having this conversation enough. And it's first of all, we believe that every vote counts, so we want to make sure every vote.
You said it was ridiculous. We want to make sure every vote counts. We counted every vote when we voted at the polls, and we basically knew the results, and then, whatever, provisional ballots, process the late coming in absentee ballots were only like 10% of the total. If it's a close election, maybe the last few might make a difference, but you pretty much knew 98.7%. When after Tuesday, when you wake up, if you went to sleep at 8 or 9 o'clock and didn't care, well, I'll just see what Roy has to say about it Wednesday morning, and we'll get the results. Yada yada yada. You pretty much know. I don't care, from sewer cleaning commissioner to the president of the United States. You know who won. That's what Trump is talking about. That, and if he gets this in for 26 on the federal elections, all paper ballots, basically same-day election. If you are asking for an absentee ballot, you've got to ask for it every election and have a legit reason why. Gavin Newsom admitting. And then he admits it's ridiculous when Savage is rolling the thing out. Argentina, who's, other than Milley, he's got the economy back, doing a lot of the same thing Trump is doing. He's at a 6 months head start. But you look at what he did. And you look at others. There's supposedly, a lot of people call, not insulting them backwards, or third world countries, not as wealthy as the United States. And they're getting the job done like boom, boom, boom. The only reason to have this whole mail-in ballot harvesting, a month to count the ballots. So we're behind on this one, like the bond was in March, or we're razor thin close. Make sure we get the troops in there at Alameda County and hold those ballots back. So we got, in case we need them. Oh, like I said, that story of mine can be played out and is probably accurate in a lot more cases than people probably realize. Oh, we walk around the corner. Dang, Fred, you forgot to count these boxes of ballots over. Oh, that truck that came in at 1 o'clock in the morning, like that was attempting to do in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, as Rush used to call it. And I think there was some in Detroit, in Wisconsin, and they were going to shut down the voting counts. 2024, we stopped them cold. And not only did Trump win the Electoral College by more than he did in 2016, won the popular vote, which, if you're not an incumbent Republican, I'm going to say probably didn't happen until Reagan, and the last time it happened to a Republican non-incumbent was probably Reagan in 80. But to have Gavin Newsom, yeah, it is ridiculous that we have that, but then he's trying to, again, but we want to make sure every vote counts. Every vote will count. You don't have to run 4 weeks to make sure every vote counts. technically, somewhat. When you do the provisionals and won damage ballots and stuff, but we always had that. That's why if it was a extremely close race, we'd sit there and watch for one or two races maybe that could possibly change, and that would be it. That would be what you would have to wait a week or two before they, stamp certified, this is it, the winners and losers, and we move on. But like I've said, Gavin Newsom is backing up on almost every freaking political position that he's had since mayor of San Fran to governor today, and he's backing up on, in year 21, he's backing up on every almost one of them.
But first, we must be becoming the president of the United States with the help of radicals like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, and these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. So many others, but these are people that are bad people, really bad people.
So that's to follow up on the election thing. Pomerantz and Mark Elias being the main guy. These were the ones, that was a Democratic law firm, probably financed by our money, laundered through, potentially, maybe, allegedly, through George Soros and all these NGOs and everything else, into the coffers like Mark Elias and stuff. Mark Elias has been the head architect of the steal. He's a Democratic lawyer that has lawyers all over the country sue this, ballot access that, ballot harvesting this. No, you can't. No. Oh, that was a ballot cast by a Republican. Those don't count. Democrat, run it through the machine 14 times if we have to. And Trump got screwed by that in 20. So, he's not taking a very, let's say, happy view of what happened there in 2020. And that's why he's calling these guys out at his speech today at the Department of Justice.
They tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. And that's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before. But first, we must.
There you go. Terrorized us, the people. At a level we've never seen before.
And reward the wicked. And that's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before. And it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their cronies to do the building of the last 4 years. What they've ripped down is incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. They set loose violent criminals while targeting patriotic parents at school board meetings. They dropped charges against Antifa and Hamas supporters while labeling traditional Catholics as domestic terrorists. The Catholics, we did very well with the Catholic vote, so I want to thank them for that.
Antifa gets free ride. Kamala bails them out of jail. You down at your local church, you're a terrorist. You that go to the school board meeting and dare question their authority up there on the board, you are the criminal. Tell me the difference between that and Vladimir Putin. which today came out and said, even though he hasn't agreed yet to the ceasefire, he gave lots of praise to President Donald J. Trump and said, hey, we're working on getting a ceasefire peace deal, but he wants it to be a long-term solution, not just a 30-day ceasefire and then we're back at it, or that we're rearming Ukraine or that. I mean, you got to give it to the guy that's a legitimate concern. He doesn't want to agree to a ceasefire and then us or the European Union or something come in and rearm Zelensky, and then he's got a bigger can of worms on his hand. But he said he's willing to get a ceasefire if it's part of an agreement that's going to have long-term peace in the region. No border conflicts or whatever. Ukraine, in order to get a peace deal, Ukraine is going to have to give up, which was a made-up country anyway. It's going to have to give back some of the property to Russia, else Putin's just got too many cards in this deal. A la nuclear weapons, the biggest nuclear arsenal of all time. But like with this, with Trump, elections, he mentioned elections today, our free political speech being trampled on, the selective prosecutions, the out-and-out theft, I believe, even though they do, the government has the power to tax. But they still have to do it legally under the auspices of the law. And they've been running this stuff like, we funded all those 80,000 coming up with the Darien Grab, and then when they would get to the line, well, on the way, the ones who were giving them the supplies, all the Catholic charities and Lutheran charities and Red Cross and everybody else, we're just supplying them and getting them all the way up. And then when they got here, well, how do you think the poor Guatemalan that probably hasn't earned 10 grand in his freaking life is paying a coyote 10 grand? That came out of your pocket. I think we're going to find out the evidence that sooner than later, I should say. And it's going to be glorious in the end, but don't be prepared. There's going to be rough spots, bumpy spots. Some days you may, even though we haven't in 53 days, you may wake up and say, yeah. But we'll get through it. We'll make it. We'll fix it as only the United States can, not only here, but across the world. It's absolutely imperative that we get this done. More from the Gavin Newsom podcast tapes as he's trying to become, there already is one Donald Trump Jr. Maybe he's trying to become Donald Trump 3.
States, aren't they disproportionate the ones impacted by these tariffs? I mean, to your point, there's going to be some tears here. And I appreciate the larger geopolitical and what you're trying to argue for ultimately coming out on the other side. But this transition is not overnight. The transition will come at real cost and consequence. Let's just be pragmatic. Up in Minnesota, Michigan, in New York, they're looking at $100 more a month on electricity bills as it relates to the retaliatory nature of what happened.
That's a threat. That's if it goes through some.
But that's just one example. I mean, there's every economy.
Like the tariffs Gavin Newsom has put on us with AB 32 and the taxes and everything, the oil refineries are starting to confirm what I told you a long time ago. We had the whiteboard up here, and we're paying twice, 75 cents a gallon of gas or diesel to refine it in the refineries down there in the South Bay or up in the northern San Fran. $1.50 to refine California gas. It's not the blend we got cost maybe 10 or 15 cents more to do even the tutti frutti one we got that they mandate. That money has been peeling out of your pocket for what now, 4, 5, 6 years. California's put a tariff on the 40 million people with gas prices, electricity prices, grocery prices, and every other prices.
Economist looks at the impacts of these tariffs.
But
Obviously,
hold it.
California will be disproportionately
Hang on.
impacted.
We did this, Governor. We did the most significant tariffs we've ever done on the Chinese Communist Party, and I think there may be some dislocations in the short term, but in the intermediate term, I think it's really the way you get to the sunlit uplands of really having back to the American plan of, remember, world-class industrial manufacturing that generates so many other
I
opportunities.
think it's a mutual goal for all of us. But industrial policy, which I think is missing a little bit from the Trump agenda, with targeted tariffs, I understand, but broad tariffs without an industrial policy to back it up is where
We have an industrial policy, ding dong. It's called Bring Manufacturing from China, India, Mexico, Guatemala, wherever, back to the United States. That's what this is all about. There is an industrial policy. You know it. Newsom's not a dumb guy. In fact, you have to be fairly intelligent to pull off the chameleon stuff he does. But again, that's what they're running from, like Schumer and the Democrats that had to cave in the credit card extension today at D.C. I mean, they've been screaming about it every time it comes up. They're, we're all gonna die if we don't. And then when Trump wanted it, well, no, you can't. It's Trump. Well, they passed it today, so it will probably be, I don't know when they did, but it probably won't be dealt with till the end of next year. We'll see how much they increase the debt limit, and we're starting at 36. I think 36 trillion. We'll probably be 37 trillion will be the U.S. debt by the time they get to September, October, because there's about $1 trillion more in deficit spending going on most of the Biden budget that's on the table. They may be able to cut some of it, but we've seen the court cases going all over the place, from correct decisions to absolutely absurd. So you never know how that process works either. So you do have to be prepared. As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, in the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't Bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to patriotswitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Mall. The 10 and 215 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. Well, that wraps up this week. Trump's heading to Mar-a-Lago with Elon Musk. We'll see. Well, they usually, sometimes they so far, things are getting, at least they've got things in place. They're getting to that. Maybe we'll start spreading this thing out, getting California straightened out. We get California straightened out and get California being back to the world's leader of production, quality of life, happiness like it used to be. You'll see a renaissance going on that will blow your ever-loving mind. Let's keep looking to build on what's happened the past 53 days. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here in 71 hours live. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
The proceeding.
All right, Roy, you take it easy. Have a good weekend. Hope you're doing okay, man. I know. I've lost both of my parents, so I know. You know what I mean. It's not a great feeling.
It's tough, but you gotta pick up the pieces and roll with the flow.
Yeah. Well, try to take it easy. You know, my phone is always open if you want to talk. So
you got it.
All right, take care.
Bye.